I was driving home from dance, and I stopped at the grocery store to pick up whatever my mom had texted me. And while I was in line checking out, I felt a tap on my shoulder. So I turn around and I see this younger gentleman with a disability pointing not so subtly at his watch. So I start to conversate with him on the fact that he was wearing a really cool watch. And that's when his mom, without looking up from what she was doing, reached up and grabbed him and pulled him behind her and whispered something along the lines of, "Quit it." By then I had been done checking out, so I left. And while I was driving home, I thought to myself, had I done something to offend them? And that's when I started to sort of get the idea, the visibility and disability. A lot of times, all that is seen when we look at a child or adult with disabilities is that, their disabilities. And so I thought, these people deserve to be talked about and loved in a way that shows who they are and not as, their disability and judged for it. I grew up around people with disabilities. When my mom would pick me up from kindergarten, she would take me to work with her where she was a coach for individuals with physical and intellectual disabilities. Here I learned to communicate with these people and understand them and become friends with them. And so they had never been a minority to me. I started to realize the disconnect between other people and the disabled once I started getting higher into schooling. In the 5th grade, when I would talk to the one disabled kid in my class, and kids would snicker and wonder, why are you talking to him? Or, why are you giving him the time of day? Or in high school, when the kid with the full-time aide got made fun of for having a full-time aide. I thought, how could you make fun of someone for something you know nothing about? Or how could you make fun of someone for being exactly who they are with no way of changing it? I remember being really angry. I would go home and I'd tell my mom, this kid's being bullied or these kids don't understand. And she really told me just to take a step back and realize that not everyone's had the opportunity to grow up and be around these people the way that I have. I came to the conclusion that I would be the bigger person, and I stepped back and I looked at it from their point of view. And I figured out that people are afraid of the unknown. This is groundbreaking stuff. Well, I broke it down into 3 types of people when it comes to reacting to individuals with disabilities. And that first person is someone who bullies an individual for being disabled, who doesn't understand and most times doesn't want to be associated with, and so they build this barrier between that and that person, which is bullying. And then the second type of person is those who claim they just don't have a heart for people with disabled. They respect the disabled, but they feel like it might be too much effort to try and understand or to communicate with an individual with disabilities because they don't know about them. And the third person is those who glorify people with disabilities. These are the kind of people that think that an individual deserves an award just for waking up every morning despite their disability, or for someone in a wheelchair to get on the bus every morning is just a feat. And so these are capable and passionate human beings, and we don't have to give them things. They just need to be seen in society in a way that is just casual and normal and genuine and concrete. When I was younger, I looked up to Peyton List. I would sit and I would watch all of the shows she was in, and I would write down what she wore and some of her catchphrases. She inspired me to get into things like modeling and acting and dancing, all of which have had a huge impact on my life. I was inspired by who I saw in the media. I saw, because she was like me, that I would be accepted if I tried that as well. Can you imagine the inspiration a little boy or girl in a wheelchair might get simply from turning on the TV to see the host of the Teen Choice Awards hosting from a wheelchair? This might inspire them to do something as simple as give a class presentation, or as astounding as run for president. It's just about them seeing themselves and being able to identify as the person that they are and not as the disability. A good example of one of my inspirations for this sort of idea is Sydney Edmond. A while back, my friends and I stumbled across this art show. And we were walking around, and I saw this painting of a ballerina. And as a dancer, I was drawn to it. And when I walked up to the table, there was a young woman, and she was nonverbal and autistic. And so I started going through her work and reading a little bit about her, and she non-verbally expressed herself through her art. She chose her art as a way to express herself and not let her disability or the fact that she's not able to speak words define who she is. And I thought this was really important, and I hope that many people are touched by her work. Another event that sort of kind of embodies this idea is I went to this pageant, and it was for individuals with disabilities. And it was just a local thing, and I was really excited because it's one of my favorite events. Just a bunch of people getting together to sort of listen to and just embrace these girls. And in a traditional pageant, when the girl first walks out, the MC usually says something along the lines of, their hobbies, their aspirations, maybe the charities they work for. But at this particular pageant, the MC started with her disability. And my heart sort of sank because when I see these girls, I know they have a disability, but that's not the first thing, anyone wants to sort of identify as. And I thought, what if when Kyle introduced me, instead of saying all of the sweet things he said, instead he said, now introducing Makena Weaver. She has chronic migraines, anxiety, she's terrified of public speaking, or she's terrible at math, All of these things are part of who I am, and I'm not ashamed of them. However, they're not the first things that I want people to know about me, and it's not something that I want, people to judge me for or understand me as being that. And so I think that these girls sort of deserved to be labeled as the activities that they liked to do, or the activity they liked to do, or just what they were good at, or who they were as a person, and not necessarily as a disability. These people have taught me pretty much everything I know today, just to be, to live every day as simple as it comes, and they've taught me to break down the barrier between me and judgment of others, and understanding a person after you've gotten to know them and not before. An astounding author, Brad Meltzer, once said that there is no greater intimacy in life than simply being understood. And from this, I figure if we could take the opportunity to understand these individuals just a little bit better, we could create an intimacy within society that makes the world a little bit better, a little bit of a better place. And that's all that we can ask for, is a little bit better at a time.